Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cracks and Conversations, the podcast dedicated to helping foundation repair and basement waterproofing business owners build stronger companies. We started Cracks and Conversations because we believe some of the best education in the industry comes from people who are living it every day. Every business has its own story, its challenges, and its own approach to solving problems, and our goal is to bring those conversations to you. Whether you're looking for ideas to improve your business, avoid costly mistakes, or simply hear how other successful companies are tackling the same challenges that you face, you're in the right place. So let's jump into today's conversation. I'm joined by Ronnie, owner of The Foundation Doctor in Central Texas. Ronnie has a unique background in architecture, home inspections, and foundation repair, and built his company around one guiding principle: every home deserves the right solution, not just the only solution that a company happens to sell. Ronnie, thank you for being here. I'm excited to have you.
No, thanks for having me. This is exciting. I've first time doing anything like this, and so no, I'm really excited to do it.
Awesome. So glad to have you. So, tell us a little bit about how you got into this industry. You know, you have an architecture background, right? So how did that lead you into foundation repair?
Well, I was the typical little small town boy. I grew up in a little town called McGregor, and I think there were about 4,000 people in the town at the time, and I couldn't wait to get out of the country and go to the big city. And so went away to college, got my degree in architecture, moved to the big city of Dallas, and started working for an architecture firm there, a real boutique firm. So I moved up really fast and was doing a lot of things I really loved, but I hated being in the city. And so I'm like, I want to go home. I want to go home. And so, came back to settled in Waco, my wife and I, and there was no architecture market in Waco. And so it's like, okay, what do we do? And so found my way in construction and found that truly my heart probably has always been in construction. And so worked as a PM for a couple of construction companies and different things. Ended up working for a construction equipment company that sold and rented construction equipment. But kind of the big thing was the economy started to turn when I was a PM at a company. And I was the third guy from the top, and it was the owner and his brother-in-law and then me. And I saw the writing on the wall. I knew that, things were scaling back and I was going to be shown the door. And so I was looking for something else to do. And so used my skills and became a licensed real estate inspector. Loved that. Absolutely loved that. And through that got introduced into, foundation repair with a local foundation repair company. And, they offered me a job to come work for them. And so I'm like, okay. I said, well, I really love doing inspections. Can I keep doing that? They're like, yeah, sure. Keep doing it on the side, but come work for us. And so started out as an estimator. After about 6 months, got promoted into general manager over the Waco office. And then about 2 years later, the lady that owned the company came to me one morning and said, hey, she said, I've decided I'm ready to retire. I want out and I want to sell it to you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? And what she actually meant was there were 4 managers. I was the manager in Waco. There were 3 managers at another location. And, she said, I want y'all to partner up and I want you to buy me out. And she determined who had what equity, so on and so forth. And there was a managing partner who had the majority ownership. And so we partnered up and we started the business or just kind of took over, and it worked well for a while, but 4 owners was too many. And when things really got tight and we needed to tighten the belt, it became obvious that somebody needed to go. We just couldn't agree on who needed to go. And one morning, right after the first of the year, the managing partner came and met with me and said, hey, the partners have decided that you're the one that has to go.
Yeah. Well, that was an easy decision for them, but
yeah. Well,
they draw straws or something.
It all boiled down to money. I had the least amount of equity because I had been there the shortest amount of time. And so from a buyout perspective, it was much cheaper to buy me out than to buy out any of the other guys. And
Sure.
so they bought me out. And I didn't have any interest of staying in foundation repair at the time. I love what I do. I love foundation repair. I love getting to meet people and help people. And it's something different every day. I mean, what we do is the same, but the people are different. The houses are different. And I really enjoy that aspect of it. And so, but managing it, overseeing crews and workers and all that, I'm just like, I don't think I want to do that anymore. And so then COVID hit. And so I had a year to sit around and not do a whole lot. And
what did you do at that time? What'd you do with your COVID?
Well, so kind of, it was right before COVID. And I met with a local guy that I had done a lot of work with. He's actually an engineer, had done a lot of work with, and talked to him. And he grew up with a local family that builds franchises. And so I told him about the experience with the partners and the whole thing. And he's like, well, he said, do you think you could create a franchisable foundation repair company? And I said, well, let me think about that. Maybe. And he's like, well, he says, I won't name names. He said, but I grew up with so-and-so. And he says, they've been wanting to create a foundation repair franchise for years, but they don't know how to do it. And he said, if you think you can do it, he says, we can sell it to them. And so I took that COVID year and came up with this franchisable concept. And, part of that is just looking at foundation repair. Much of your audience may know this already, but foundation repair is very regional. And so what we do in Central Texas isn't the same thing that you do in South Texas, or you go over to Louisiana and some of those coastal areas. That looks very different. And you go up to the Midwest and Northwest and all, and things just look very different. And so, it became a challenge of how do we offer these different things and what does that look like? And so, started working through all of that and coming up with different solutions. And, at the same time, I had agreed as a part of the buyout, I agreed to a 1-year non-compete. So I could not compete with my old partners. And I think they were okay with that because, at that time I expressed that I wanted to get out of the industry, that I wasn't going to stay. I think in hindsight, they wish they would have asked for longer, but we agreed to that year. So I took that year. Yeah. And so I built. Yeah. So, I built Foundation Doctor and, started out just we weren't doing repair. I was the doctor and I would write a prescription. And so I would go out, I would do the inspection. The homeowners would pay me a small fee to come out and be their consultant. And so then I would write them a prescription for what needed to be done. And then they could go to all the local companies and have them bid the same thing. Cause you've probably encountered this and certainly other people have. You can call 3 different companies out and they're all going to tell you 3 different things. Yes. And it has so much to do with what that company, what product they offer versus other. Texas is an area that foundation repair is unregulated. And so, you could go down and print out business cards and be in the foundation repair industry in Texas tomorrow if you want to without any skill. So, I mean, the whole idea of being able to go to that homeowner and say, hey, this is what you really need. This is what your house needs. And so trust me and that I know what I'm talking about. And then you go to these people and you tell these people what you want done. And then that way your bids are all the same and that kind of thing. And so that gained in popularity, but it was never the kind of the result from that was everybody's like, oh, I like you so much and I trust you and I've got all these estimates, but I don't trust them.
Mm.
Will you manage the job for me? Will you oversee the job for me and that kind of thing? And so then I'm like, okay, forget this. I just need to get back
Yeah.
in repair and
It
I
kept
need
getting
to do it.
sucked back in.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so, we did that and, the guy that wanted to franchise, he supported me a lot and helped me get going. And, um, we still work together. We still do a lot of things together. But the franchise concept, I don't know where that's going to go. I think
Hmm.
Foundation Doctor is still a really good franchisable concept. There's been several other franchise companies come into town now, and I, you talk about the 1,000 pound gorilla. I mean, these big franchises, I don't know that I want to battle that. And so looking at other avenues to just expand what I'm doing and kind of become my own gorilla in my own territory.
Right. You can be your own unique gorilla and
Yeah.
not be in the ring with the big ones that it's not your fault, but they have things that we normal people don't have, and we can't fight against it. Trillions of dollars and humongous crews and anyways, yeah. So one thing that stood out to me, Ronnie, thank you for explaining or telling us your story.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah.
you've been on quite a journey.
I have.
I
Yeah.
like
It's
I like the idea of the foundation doctor writing the prescription so that the homeowner is kind of empowered with, no, this is what I need.
right.
That's good. My
Right.
my parents had to get a foundation repair estimate they're in kind of mid Florida, and they got one very expensive foundation repair estimate that they thought was trustworthy. Then they got a second estimate because that's what you do, and it was for, you don't need that at all. You need this small repair. And they were like, well, wait a minute. So then their trust radars were like, we don't know what to do. So tough to know what to do, but I like your concept. So one thing that stood out to me while I was researching your company was that and we've talked about it, you don't believe there's just one solution for every problem. It should
Right.
be solved the exact same way. And a lot of companies have one or two repair methods. So how do you educate the customer without overwhelming them on what is exactly what they need?
Well, I mean, I have the somewhat unique experience that I've been doing it 20 years. And so in the area that I'm working in, I know all this area, a lot of these houses
Mm.
I've worked on. So I know what the soil conditions are like and that kind of thing. And so, I don't have to, bring in a drilling rig and, drill down to see what kind of dirt's under their house and that kind of thing. Cause I worked on the house next door, I know what
Right,
works.
right.
Um, and so then, I just talked to the homeowner about, where they are, what the soils are like under their home. And then talk about the different solutions and the pros and cons. And, I'll be there and, you've got one company saying, hey, this is the perfect solution. And, I can tell them, no, that's not the perfect solution. Or I can say, you know what? Yes, that will work. But for about half the cost, you can do this over here that will work just as well. And so, I think the homeowners really feel empowered because they feel like they have choices, where a lot of companies come out and pretty much all the companies around here, they offer 2, maybe 3 peer types. And so they'll come in and they'll say, okay, this is the peer you need. This is the peer you need. The company that I used to be a part of, one of the conflicts that I had with the other partners is they wanted to come up with a magic bullet, and they wanted to come up with this magic peer and say, okay, this is the beat all end all. And, then they said, okay, we're only going to warrant this peer. We're going to charge X amount for this peer, and this is going to be great and all this. And I just didn't agree with that. I didn't think that was the right approach. And so, now that I'm gone, they've certainly done that. And in result, I like to say, yeah, that, it was me, and it was my relationship that a lot of people have chosen to support me and then leave that company behind. That company has now left the area. They're no longer in Waco. They shuttered the Waco office, and they've moved. They're not focusing on doing any business here anymore. And yeah, I would love to take credit and say, yeah, it's all about me. But I think they did it to themselves, because what they did is they took that magic pier, they marked it up about 3 times for what everybody else is charging. That's the only pier they would give the warranty on. And people around here they can't afford to do that. And so I think
they alienated themselves from their customer, right? They alienated themselves. Yeah. Whereas you're educating the customers so that they can make a very informed decision. So
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love to sell those more expensive piers because I make more money on them. Absolutely. But, that's just not, that's not the right approach. That's not. And I've, I firmly believe in just taking care of people, and that was something that, was instilled in me, not only growing up in a small town, but my parents and my family is, you take care of people and you love people and you do what's best for them, not what's best for you. And if you do that, you'll receive your reward. And, I'm also a pastor. My backup profession is a pastor. And so I serve in a local church as well. And so, I can't go out and take advantage of people. I'm not going to do that. Right. And so, and so much of the passion and joy that I get out of doing this job every day is the response from people when you do the right thing and you take care of them.
I agree. You can make the big bucks once, or you can gain trust and be an authority on it where people keep coming back to you, even just for advice, which is rewarding, but for help too. Yeah. So, okay, let's switch gears a little bit to the boring business side. Okay. When you started your company, what was harder than you thought it would be?
I don't know. I feel extremely blessed because things were pretty easy. I had been in the industry for so long that, my name was already out there. So all I had to do was, hang out my shingle and say, hey, me from this company. Now I have this company. And so everybody followed me over. I had people willing to back me financially and those kinds of challenges. As far as the operational side, what do you do? How do you do it? Already knew that. Advertising and promotion and that kind of thing. I already knew that. I already knew the people to call. And so what challenges did I have to overcome in starting Foundation Doctor? Honestly, there weren't a whole lot, but I can say back up and go to where when I first got into the industry, I did go to work for an established company, but the biggest challenge I had was just building that reputation. And when people call a foundation repair company, they already know they need foundation repair. It's not a surprise to them. And so what you have to do is they have to trust you and you have to build a relationship with them. And so, how do you go in and speak with authority and build a relationship with someone when you've only been in the industry for a very short period of time? It's easy for me now when I say, oh, I've been doing this for 20 years. Well, I have instant credibility. People trust me when I say this is what you need, then that's fine. When I was new in the business and I hadn't even been doing it a year, it's like, okay, well, you hadn't been doing this very long. How do you know? And so, then I had to lean on, my background, my history in construction, my degree and just those credentials. And so when I bring in, new estimators and new salesmen today, that's still their biggest challenge is, how do we have that kind of credibility?
Yeah, it is tough to start from the ground up and build confidence through being seen as trustworthy right away.
Right.
What are some systems that you put in place that really made like the biggest impact on your business growth? Were there any specific systems?
Well, so I had learned from past experiences that for this type of industry in our area, now this has changed. So I'm going to tell you all this, and I'm going to tell you it doesn't operate this way anymore. But was advertising and how you promote the business. And
Hmm.
so I had had the opportunity to sit under some very wise people, marketing people, and they said, look, in your industry, you don't want people to come look for you. When someone realizes that they need foundation repair, you want them to instantly think of you. Because if they say, "Oh, I think I've got a foundation problem," the last thing you want them to do is go get online and start searching out all these
Yeah.
different companies and all this kind of thing. You
Right.
want, when they think foundation repair, you instantly want them to think foundation doctor, so they instantly call you.
Hmm.
And so when I started the company and I had to get the name out there, that's what we did. And it cost a lot, it did, but we plastered the airwaves, and our commercials. Sometimes I'll have to share them with you, and
I would love
we'll have to
it.
get them on. We'll have to get them on the website. But for the longest, our commercials didn't say anything about foundation repair other than our name. um
Mm.
and I came up with these ideas, and they would come up to me in my sleep, and I say it was from the good Lord, because I'm not creative enough to come up with these kind of things. But we started out, one of our all-time favorite commercials was did you know commercials. And
Ooh.
it's like, did you know that ketchup was invented to be a medicine? Did you know that a fast food chain tried to create bubblegum flavored broccoli? Did you know? I can't remember what all they were now, but I talked for 60 seconds about did you know and these interesting facts. And then at the end, or it's probably like 45, 50 seconds. And at the very end, I said, did you know that if you have foundation problems, the foundation doctor is the guy to call? And all of our radio spots,
Genius.
they all had a jingle. They always ended with a doorbell, and our tagline was, "The foundation doctor, we make house calls." And
Love it.
we just plastered the airwaves with that. And so, yeah, I mean, and I'm not even on the radio anymore, but we did so much of that. People still tell me, "Oh yeah, I heard you on the radio the other day," and so that gets that recognition out there, and that way you don't have them going out and going to everybody. Like
Yeah,
I said,
you were
I
in their
preface,
head.
yeah. I prefaced it by saying it doesn't work that way anymore. I really wish it did, because I really enjoyed
It
that.
sort of does. It sort of does because everybody's doing kind of the same thing now. So you still need to
Yeah.
stand out as unique and have somebody remember, oh, there it kind of does, but we're not doing that on the radio anymore. I mean, there's still stuff on the, maybe you should get back into radio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we should
No,
have
and
you do
there's
commercials for us, Mr. Jingle.
that was fun. I have to say, I really enjoyed doing those commercials. And, we did stuff. I got my son, I guess he was probably 7 or 8 years old at the time. And, in the spot, we're sitting around building a gingerbread house. And, I'm like, why is your door so crooked? And why does the window look like that? And, he's like, I don't know, maybe I need the foundation doctor, and it was real cute. And so
Yeah.
that ran all the time. And the first year we did that spot, the radio station, they messed up, and they were supposed to be playing. We ended up on the Christmas station that plays Christmas music all during the holiday season, and they were supposed to start running that spot. Well, they messed up, and they were running an old spot, so I ended up getting double spots. So,
Oh,
I mean, you would have a commercial break, and there would be two of our commercials in the same commercial break. It was just everywhere, and
worked out
so
great for
yeah,
you.
it worked really great for me. Yeah.
Yeah, but you made an impact because you put your name out there, you made yourself memorable. And I like the point you made. You don't want people to go searching for foundation repair or whatever your business is when they need you. You want them to remember you at that moment.
Right.
So
Right.
no matter how the advertising has morphed with social media, blah, 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 that principle is is the same. You want people to know you before they need you. And
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that that made a big impact on your business. So, was there a moment as far as like leadership growth for you as an owner? Was there a moment when you realized, Ronnie, that I can't be involved? And you talked about it earlier. I can't be involved in everything. I can't be involved in every aspect of every job.
Um, Honestly, I still struggle with that. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think
I've
all owners
got,
do.
yeah, I mean, my crews, the all the guys from the old company, they all follow me. They all follow
Mhm.
me. And that's one thing I will say for all owners out there, employers out there, and this is across the board in any industry. I started working when I was 14 years old, and I was working in a grocery store. And one of the owners in that store, he always asked me to do things. He never told me to do something. He always asked me to do something. And I
Mm.
always felt like it was my choice. Now I knew it wasn't. It was him saying, "Hey, go do this." But that little bit of respect that he
Mhm.
showed me, even at that young age, I recognized that. And so I have carried that forward, throughout my entire career. And so doing that, and then just treating your people well, they respect you and they love you. And all the guys that work for me, they've been with me for years. My lead foreman started working for me when he was 18 years old. He is now
Mm.
30. What is he? 35, 36. He's married, has kids, and I've been with him
Oh,
through the whole thing. And so I I have really great people, and I still want to micromanage sometimes, but because of that, and I've got a great superintendent, my office manager, she's my right hand. I absolutely could not do it without her. And so, yeah, I mean, I have finally reached the point where I feel like I can let go of some things, and it's allowed me to focus on other things. I mean,
hmm,
like doing this right now.
hmm,
Ordinarily I would be out there, running leads and putting out fires and all that kind of stuff. And there's still those days, I mean,
yeah.
Wednesday was a day we went out to one property. It was a pier and beam, and the guys crawled under there, and it's full of snakes, and it's way out in the country. And I got another crew that's complete opposite, so my superintendent was out dealing with snakes, and I got another crew out that had a blowout on the truck and just all this. So, yeah, I had to drop everything and I had to go put out those fires. But for the most part, when you hire good people and you treat them right, then it's easier to let some of that stuff go.
Yeah, I agree. A leader can lead with respect and questions and options, and it empowers your employees. And then they don't hide the fact that they had a complete truck blowout, and you find out why the job was late later. They come to you because they know that you're a guy they can rely on to help them in a respectful
Right.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have to crawl under the house with the snakes?
No,
Oh,
I do not. I do not. And we're still,
oof.
they've had a snake wrangler out there that supposedly got them all removed, and then we went back and they were still there. So I'm not
Oh,
sure what we're going to have to do quite yet. The homeowner is dealing with that right now, but
my goodness, what kind I've never been to Texas, and I this is thrilling. I'm really like loving. It's definitely on my top two places of to go with the
yeah,
snakes.
yeah.
What kind of snakes were they?
So originally the guys, they thought they were copperheads, and so they were really
Oh
freaked
yeah.
out by it. Once the wrangler came out, no, it's just like a bull snake, a rat snake.
Oh.
But they're very aggressive.
Oh yeah.
And so, you're crawling over there on your belly
Okay.
trying to replace rotten wood on this house, and this snake is crawling on you or trying to snap at you and all
Oof.
that. And it's not going to hurt you if you're bit, but you don't want to get bit. So
And they didn't know
yeah,
that because a copperhead takes one time. We used to live in
yeah,
Maryland, and
yeah.
those things were wicked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the joys of this industry.
But I have to say, in 20 years, that's we've encountered snakes before, but this is the first time that I've ever had this many of them, and had them really get aggressive with
Wow.
us. Most of the time, we had one we were working on one time that the house was split, and so there were two crawl spaces, and so when the guys would enter one crawl space, the snake would just go up and over into the other crawl space, and when we go to the other side, then he would do the same thing, and so it just kind of avoided the guys and left them alone, so they won't worry about it. And it was just one, so that was a bonus there. But
that's hilarious.
yeah.
Okay, so from the marketing aspect, a lot of established businesses, they are that way because they've relied on referrals, because they're trustworthy. They've built this network of homeowners, of other businesses that when they realize what they need, they come to you. You keep your name out there in people's heads. That's good. So, but as the foundation doctor continued to grow, was there like a certain moment when you realized we need to become more intentional about our marketing, about our business, because just instead of just like relying on referrals and reputation? Was there a moment when you were like, we might need to do a little bit more?
Yeah, it kind of came to the point that a lot of it was financially driven, really, but it was when we were new. We were just scatter shooting, and we were everywhere, trying to do as much as we could to get that name out there. And then we reached a point that we had done that. And so then it's like, okay, how do we narrow this budget? How do we bring it back in where it's a little more manageable? And then, where do we put those dollars, and how are they best used? And so, we've done a lot of different things. We've done some social media advertising. We've done some lead generation companies. In all that I've done, that's probably been the most challenging, because most of these companies that do that don't understand our industry and don't understand what we do. And,
right.
That's how I've been most attracted to this new focus and what we're trying to do now is, y'all, is it okay to talk about y'all and Jason?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. You can mention the name if you want. Yep.
Yeah. So no, I have found this company called 64 Leads, and Jason is this phenomenal guy, and he really understands the industry, and he's focused in on that. And so I'm really excited to see where this goes, because for the first time, I feel like I really have a partner in the social media sphere who understands what we do, who appreciates what we do, and knows how to drive business to us. I can't tell you how many leads I've bought and paid for that were just absolutely worthless because all these other companies out there just don't get it. And so that has been a big challenge is trying to find that. Even, in some of the other stuff, even, our back office software, our bidding software, all that other kind of stuff, there's not anything industry specific out there. If you want to be a plumber, you've got 100 different plumbing solutions that you can pick from to support your industry, but those just aren't out there for foundation repair. The first estimating, when I first got into this, we were still drawing our repair plans on graph paper, with a pencil and a ruler, and using little templates to draw the piers in and all that other kind of stuff. And so I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so looking through all over, trying to find something, and it just didn't exist. And so finally we hired a developer to develop an iPad app, and ended up investing about $60,000 with this guy to develop this program. And it was really great. It really was. And he got it working just exactly the way we wanted it. But then it's kind of like we were the only ones using it. And so he couldn't support it anymore. And so then, even after that investment, he just thought, sorry guys, I got to make a living. I can't support this anymore. And so then it's like, okay, well, what do you do now? And so, thankfully some things have changed over the years, and there are some things out there. There's actually some really great applications out there now that we're using. But in looking at the challenges, those are some of the things. But I know that was kind of off track from the marketing approach, but I
think it was on topic because I just bought my husband a sign from anyways, and it says, it's sitting in the office. It says, when leadership evolves, the team evolves, and then the business evolves. So
I like that.
You as the leader are realizing this worked, but it's not going to always work. So what's my next move for when it stops working? And then the team sees, oh, he's evolving. This guy's, when leadership just sits in the mud, we're going to stay in the mud. We got to keep growing. So I appreciate what you're saying. And marketing has morphed drastically from radio to now. And it's still morphing. I mean, we were just talking earlier about a huge change that's coming, and how are we going to address that change? Well, you have to keep growing,
Right.
yeah. So how did you notice a change in trajectory? That's a hard word, for trajectory for your business when you did realize the change that you had to make for marketing in your business?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough because, I mean, you kind of saw the writing on the wall. You saw the leads kind of decline a little bit with radio and all that.
Yeah.
And the other challenge has been in the middle of all this is understanding, trying to analyze all this and trying to figure out, okay, how much of this is marketing and how much of it is just the really cruddy economy that we're in right now.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's been a real challenge, but you can still look at, seeing those leads. What I've learned over my 20 years is that foundation repair actually does really well in a bad economy. When there's a good economy, when money's cheap, when there's lots of houses out there, if somebody has foundation issues, they just sell their house and go buy a new house. And so people can't do that right now. And so you should still see a good source of these leads coming in. And we just kind of started to see that wane. And, some of it is watching the market too. We were on one of the biggest morning shows in all of Central Texas. Host that had been there for 30 years. One of the hosts died from cancer. And so it left a single host, and he was trying desperately to hold on, but big national media, they came in and they canceled the show. And so, we lost that traction. So it wasn't just, okay, is radio working anymore? Is the economy affecting us? But then, okay, we saw massive lead generation from this radio show that's not there anymore. And so, right. Looking at all of that. And so kind of watching what was happening. And then as you introduce these new concepts of social media advertising, of lead generation and that kind of thing, watching that, seeing how those leads are changing and how that's affecting things. And we're still kind of digging our way out of that. We've kind of flatlined, to be honest with you. We still see it coming in, but when we ask customers, it's like, okay, how did you hear about us? People aren't telling me it's from radio anymore. It's a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of word of mouth. And people will say, oh, we saw you on YouTube, or we saw an ad on Facebook or something like that. But, I would say at this point in time, probably the majority of our leads right now are coming from word of mouth and referral.
Yeah. Do you ever work with real estate agents or, home inspectors, as far as when people purchase a new home, or they have to have, refinance, you get an appraisal, you find something, and then you are their go-to source for the repair when they find that there is something that's needed in that inspection?
Yeah, there's a story in itself there. So, at least in our area in Texas, what started happening is real estate agents were using the foundation repair companies kind of as a clearinghouse on a property. So they wouldn't go through a real estate inspection. First, they would call a foundation repair company. And then we would go out, and if we found a problem with it, well, then they wouldn't bother to even do the home inspection. And so, and this goes back years with the other company. And not only that, but you had someone put their house on the market that had foundation problems, but they didn't realize they had foundation problems. And so there was nothing on the disclosure statement about foundation repair issues. Well, then a buyer comes in and looks at it and they're like, hey, I think I want to put an offer on this house. And so the agent says, okay, well, let's get this let me get my foundation guy in to check that first, because that's not going to cost you anything. Mm-hmm. And so then we would come in, we'd check it. Well, we'd find problem. And so they'd say, okay, well, we're not going to do this. And the agent would go back to the seller and say, oh, well, you've got foundation problems, so we're not interested. We're backing out. Well, now all of a sudden you have a seller who now has to disclose that foundation issues have been identified on their property. And it was just there were never any inspections. There were never any contracts written or anything like that. And so now these sellers are calling us and just cussing us up one side and down the other. It's like, how dare you? You had no right and all this. I'm like, it wasn't me. This wasn't our fault. And so then that kind of became a battle. And so then we started telling agents, we're like, okay, we'll come do the inspection, but not until after the real estate inspection and this and that and so on and so forth. And it's still just, a lot of agents wouldn't respect that. And so eventually what we went to is, we started charging for real estate inspections. That was the only time we were charging for an inspection. And, it killed the real estate business for that company. Absolutely killed the real estate business. Well, for a long time, I've still been associated with that. And so it's taken a while as foundation doctor to kind of rebuild my brand and say, hey, I don't do that. I'm not going to do that to you. And so, yeah, I mean, I do a lot of real estate. I do see a lot of referrals from real estate, and it's kind of a necessary evil. Because agents, they need the inspections done right away. More often than not, they don't result in sales. And so you spend a lot of energy and you spend a lot of money catering to agents. But I do think what I've seen over my years is that it is worth it. It is worth it because you have that relationship, and people will call those realtors even years later. Maybe it's not something that happens in that real estate transaction, but they build relationships with these realtors. And so, after being in the house for 10 years, well, now it's shifting, it's moving. Well, they call the agent and they say, hey, who should I call?
Yeah.
And so because you've built that relationship with that agent, you're getting that referral otherwise.
I have found realtors are a good source of they just know a lot of people, and they know from their experience who's good at it and who's not. And I think they're a good source for, well, I shouldn't say, but necessarily can't flatline it across the board, but of authority of this is a good person for this repair, or I could see them being a good partner in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of my number one competitors, who's also a friend of mine, I mean, we talk all the time and bounce stuff off of each other. But that was his focus. He built his business around real estate and catering to realtors. And so, yeah, he's got a lot of the real estate market. In fact, it's kind of the two of us, he does a lot of it, and then I do a lot of it, and the rest of them just kind of float out there. But, he built his business on that.
Cool. Thanks for sharing all that. That's good insight. Okay, you ready for our lightning round? You'll be the first person I've done this with, but I think could be fun. Okay, someone's got to be the first.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just a series of there's 5 questions, just short answers. But the number one is, this one's foundation repair focused. What's your favorite repair method?
I've got to say, probably just an old school press piling pier.
Say it again. You broke up.
Just an old school press piling pier.
Old school. Hey, I like it.
Yeah. Okay. No, go ahead. I can talk forever. So
no, it's okay.
I know that's not the point of the lightning round.
It can be a slow lightning round, a delayed lightning round. Okay. So would you coffee or energy drinks?
Coffee.
Yeah, me too. First truck you ever owned?
Oh, first truck or first car?
Well, you can give both.
Okay. My first car was a 69 Gran Torino that my dad and I restored together. First truck was a Mazda B52, a little
Wow.
Mazda truck. It was a little standard. I drove that to college and drove it all over.
Good memories.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have a favorite business book?
Ooh, probably How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Ooh,
Kind of corny because that's a lot, but that I've learned so much about how to relate to people and how to build relationships from that book.
That's really good. And yeah, important in life, but so important in business.
Yeah.
Best purchase under $500 that you've made for your business. I don't know if that exists in foundation repair under $500.
Yeah, trying to think, I mean, you almost want to say cell phone because I couldn't live without the cell phone, but
You can up the budget if you need to.
Yeah.
How about best purchase you've ever made for your business?
I mean, I'll say from a standpoint of just doing what we do, a CompuLevel, yeah, we just we can't function without the well, you could do it without the CompuLevel, and I've done it long enough that I can come in and I can tell you, very often exactly what the elevation is without using the CompuLevel.
Wow.
But that's an extremely important tool in what we do. The iPad and the software that I'm currently using to bid has been a game changer. I mean, used to it would take 30 minutes to an hour to write a bid and get it out. And now I can actually generate a bid usually in less than 10 minutes right there in the customer's house.
Wow. Do you want to share anything about that software, or is it unique for your...
I mean, I'll plug them. They're a really great company to work with. It's a company called ArcSite, ARCSITE. They don't cater just to foundation repair, but foundation repair is an industry that they cater to. It's not real expensive. It is subscription based. They integrate with a lot of other, CRS your customer management software and that kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you go in with an iPad and you can literally sketch out the repair plan and everything right there in the customer's house. You can record your elevations, drag and drop kind of stuff, and generate an estimate, and you can get the customer to sign it right there. You can email it to them and give them time to think about it. And it integrates all your financing, and it's highly, highly customizable. And I love it. Yeah, it's really good.
That's a nice tool. Thanks for sharing that. ArcSite, you said.
ArcSite. Yeah.
ArcSite. Okay, that's great. I'll put information on them in the description, because that sounds like a good one to share. Okay, one last lightning round question. What's your perfect day look like?
Perfect day. I get up early. I have a cup of coffee, read some scripture, kiss my wife goodbye out the door. All the crews, everybody's where they're supposed to be. Everything's going well. Go out, run some appointments, get to meet some new people, and just get to come home and spend time with my family at the end of the day.
I love it. That is a perfect day. I don't think it's unthinkable that it occurs a lot in your life, probably, except for the snake wrangler day.
Yeah. Fortunately, those are few and far between.
Yeah, we got to throw those in every now and then so we appreciate the other days.
Yeah.
All right. So our final question, Ronnie, you've been great, is if there was a new foundation repair owner listening to you on this episode and only remembers one thing that you've said today with me, what do you hope that they remember?
Is if you take care of people, you will be successful. So much of the time I tell my salesmen, my estimators, they want so much to go into that house and create a sale. And if you go into that house and tell that customer, you know what, either you don't need work or you don't need work right now, and you walk out that door without that sale, you're going to hang your head because you really wanted to make that sale, but you're going to get 10 sales from that one interaction.
Yeah, I agree. I love it when people are honest with me, say you don't need me right now. I'll call them when I do need them for sure. They've made it in my book. This has been wonderful, Ronnie. Thank you so much for coming on Cracks and Conversations and talking with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So if someone wanted to learn more about the Foundation Doctor or connect with you, where should they go?
It's easy and it's fun. ineedthedoctor.com. All spelled out.
I love it. I love that. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Ronnie. And Cracks and Conversations tie in for the next episode. Have a great day.
Thanks.